Hello, I'm just about to make my summer classes and I just wanted to do a review of how I connect Achieve to Canvas starting from scratch as a new course. So I am going to create a new course and this will be for my summer chemistry 2 class. So I'm going to add interactive general chemistry and I'm going to choose the option where I'm managing the section of the same course. So this will be Chem 1046. Summer 2021. And it starts on the 10th. And ends on this date. Actually going to start it a little early, just in case students want access a little early. I like to toggle this button for student access after the semester. This is very important, I find, for students who are taking chemistry as part of a course sequence, so they have a chance to refresh and review later. I forgot to put my course code in, so I have to go back and do that. But then we'll be ready to get this section ready. I'm going to add that. And you can start with a pre-built course. And so you do this or add content at will. The other thing I could do is cancel that course setup. And one thing I could also do is actually have copied a course. And so I can copy this one actually as well. So I'm going to copy the section managers and go from there. So I might actually prefer to do that today. So I'm going to delete the section manager. So I'm going to do the same thing, just copying my previous one. Again, same information we went over before, choosing your beginning and end dates. And so now I've created that and I get to look in to see what I have. So one thing you will see is that a lot of my assignments are all past assignments. So one thing you could do is change the dates here, or you can go to resource type and change them all together. So I tend to do them all as in the view all, and then I'll correct them here. I start Chem 2 with these, with chapter 12. And so what I can do is assign or edit these. And I'm going to assign those due dates. And I'm going to assign them as all of these. And so one thing I do is I keep these as part of their in-class activities pre-lecture. And so you'll see that I have in previous times created this pre-lecture learning curve. Notice that I also have assignments, which is for their homework, iClicker quizzes, which is again part of their attendance grade, practice, which are things I make available for them to review, and then worksheets, which are for bonuses. So I've seen the worksheets assigned also as in-class material. I chose not to do so while I'm teaching remote. When I go back to in-person, these worksheets will probably be for in-class credit. I prefer things to be due 14 days ahead of time. One, it piecemeals it out, so I don't have students cramming it all in at the beginning of the semester, and then they tend to get things wrong because they're just rushing through it. So it's just kind of one of my options. And then I'm going to do a bit of a split screen. Apologies, everyone, because I need to see my calendar. So again, one thing I do is I've learned myself is to carry a Google Calendar. That's why if I change anything, my students will see it very quickly. You get to see where my Zoom lectures are and when things are due. I tend to have their learning curves due the day I either start talking about a chapter, except for learning curve 12, because I do give them almost the full first week to do that, so they have time to log in that first time. So I'm going to pause this, but basically in between the next time jump, you're going to see that I've updated all these times. So again, one thing you'll see is that I've changed all the dates. They are considered graded. You can also make it ungraded or for bonus, but I like these graded. My students, I have found when I did them as optional, my students did not do them to their full ability. And so having just a little bit of heft to them, a little bit of points to them has definitely helped them out to do them with a bit more diligence. So I'm going to save that, and those will be our first things done. So when I go through these, I prefer to go through resource types first. The adaptive quizzes I do make available from previous semesters. They have no due date, but they are available to students if they want to practice them. Other things you'll see is that I do give them readings. I've currently liked assigning them by chapters. I have done them by sections before, where I say, okay, I'll do section 12.1 to 12.3, read this by, this day. Student feedback said that they prefer them as chapter chunks because they felt too crazy for trying to get sections done at a time, even though, preferentially I prefer them to do them in sections, but I'm going to go with what my students want on that one. I give them diagnostics if they want to do the bonus materials, and we're going to go back to assessments. So here are the worksheets. They're their extra credit. Again, same thing, I'm going to highlight them as I go because there's several types there. This is something I've done frequently. The check area is a little smaller than I wish. So sometimes I do accidentally do that, but the best thing to do, instead of pressing your back button, hit the back button and achieve, and that way everything is still highlighted. So again, add edit as I did before. If you want to assign them but not have any credit due, you could just have them available access to students, just like I have for the previous semester's material for chapters 1 through 11. So again, one thing, I'm just going to pause and continue, and I'll check back in with you when I start to migrate this back into my course on Canvas. One thing I just wanted to discuss real quick was the use of the intro surveys and the other student self-reflection surveys. So on this side, you see that I have checkpoint surveys 1 through 4 also listed. So the intro survey kind of gives them the affirmations and tells them, or it starts them thinking on their study habits and what they intend to give as their effort on the class. When it comes to the checkpoint surveys, I make the first checkpoint, as you see here. It comes after not only their first quiz closes, but before their second quiz opens. So I want them to take a check-in to want me to grade it by that Monday, for them to get the answers, to review them, and to think about how well they did compared to how well they expected to do. And then I usually do them afterwards, but because it's a summer semester, it's a little bit more condensed in time. So I did put one of their surveys before their exam, just so they have time to fix their study habits before their last exam and final. But I use them as extra credit, and I encourage students to participate. I don't assign them for real assignments. It is just bonus on each relevant, this one is particular bonus on their final exam. So it's an encouragement to continue on with them during the semester. And I also say if you skip one or miss one, you're still eligible to continue on with the survey. So it has helped out. So when I do that, I use that extra credit category. And then again, I have those worksheets for quiz exam bonus, so it will count as the final exam bonus. And so that's one of the things I could do there. The other thing I want to remind you as you're updating those, you might get frustrated because you missed this little button. You have to check that button before you can scroll up to the top and press save. So just make sure when you're doing this on your own that you press save for any of the assignments that you're given. So here you're going to see that I have my self-reflection surveys listed as well. I'm actually going to get rid of them because it was moved over from a previous one. I copied my module. So that's one thing. If you are copying from one course to another, you do want to get rid of these assignments before you connect to Macmillan. So to do this, go to your assignment page and just delete these. So it seems foreign to do that, but go ahead and do so. So you see my quizzes are pre-made. Those are not from Macmillan. Same thing with my exams, my final. But for the imports right here, I'm pretty much going to delete most of these. So I'm going to delete that. So I'm going to keep doing this. Again, this Achieve one doesn't connect to my course. This Achieve link connects to your homepage for each individual course. So even if you import it or copy it from another Canvas course, please remember to delete this because you will need to then make the new connection when you connect to Macmillan this time again. And so all these homeworks need to be deleted as well. Dog ate my homework. That is something I do give as an option to my students. So I give them one chance through the semester to say whatever they wish. They do not have to actually tell me why they were telling me why they missed something. They just get 7 days extra to do their work with no penalty. And so the dog ate my homework is a way for me to keep track of how many times I've given that allowance. And also it tells me which assignment particularly I need to go back and edit that due date on. So it's a really cool tool, and it has minimized the amount of begging for extra credit or begging for extra time over the semester, because they now know they have one free, so they have to use that first. So I'm going to continue again, pause again, continue deleting these assignments, and then I'll show you how to link this up. In here, you see that I have all of my assignments as groups, so pre-lectures, homework. The assignments are just at the bulk random Canvas when I leave that alone. I have quizzes, exam, and then you'll see final exam, bonus, and practice as well. It's important to look at the uppermost assignment grouping. I have pre-lectures and in-class activities. This is where all of your assignments will dump or preload when you merge with another platform. I prefer, instead of doing a massive one dump of content from Achieve, I instead select what should go in that uppermost assignment grouping. So I'm only going to import pre-lecture learning curve assignments at this time. And then I'll redo the process for homework, so on and so forth. Someone who prefers to do only one import, just be aware that in Canvas, you're going to do a lot of clicking and dragging as needed to get there. So how do you get Macmillan Learning right here? For me, you have to go to settings, and then I go to navigation. And because Macmillan Learning has already been authorized by me, it actually usually shows up in my list of options down here. So I just drag it back up here. If it is not already in this drag list for you, go ahead to apps, and then you'll just Google Macmillan, and you'll have this. And depending on whether your administrators have already allowed it configured with Canvas, you might have to have them notify the IT that they have to start the registration configuration process or talk to your book rep. But instead, it may have already been configured into Canvas, and so just drag down to this list and drag up what you see, because you see all the different options they have for different things. I will warn you that if you use iClicker and Achieve, when you go to this next step, you can only choose one. So for Macmillan Learning, I'm going to choose Achieve. It has the most options for me. Even though I do work with iClicker, I don't connect it directly that way. So I'm going to connect with Achieve, and then you authenticate, and then it says, okay, this is me. I'm going to continue. And you can see all the ones that I used to have, previous ones. So I'm going to look. Actually, you know what I forgot to do? One of my options is I forgot to actually make my RTV, my summer class. So I'm actually going to pause this for a second and relog into Achieve. Apologies, I forgot a big step. So what I have to do back, remember I made a section manager for this. So for here, what I have to do is then make a new section. So I'm going to, sorry, I went too fast. So I'm going to add and edit sections. And so what I'm going to do is create 2 sections. I tend to label them by the course number that I have. It helps me keep straight with communications with Canvas, because the Canvas uses the course, the CRN number, course registration number. However, if you'd like to do things where it's Monday, Wednesday, so for example, one of my classes is real-time virtual, so it starts at 10 a.m. and in the summer, we go all the way to 11:45 a.m. on Monday, Wednesdays. And then for my other class, I don't have meeting time, so I'm going to leave that blank. If you have instructors like a TA, you can go to Manage Instructors. And so, for example, my TA, I can add her email here. I won't, however, show everyone her email address, but I will do that later. So that's one thing that I could do, is if you have a TA that wants to be able to see the homework, you could add them there. So now I've created those sections. I'm going to now refresh my list. Let's see how quickly the internet will work for us. I might have to go back. Let's see. Just double check that they got produced. So you see my 2 new courses. Okay, so there it is. So we are now up to class I'm integrating, so 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 2. So I'm going to connect that here. You could write down this course ID. It is also available later when you get your student documents to say, how do you have your students connect to this course? But if you're someone who has trouble finding the course ID later, go ahead and take a screenshot at this point. And so now I'm going to choose to use Achieve. And so you can go there and it'll link it to you. But this is actually, I use this more for when I'm teaching later in the semester. Instead, right now, we want to start with our content refresh or actually just do the content that we want to add together. Because I hadn't added anything. So here, remember that assignment that I deleted that I said you want to delete every semester? That's the Achieve Home. I like this because I have found that students do not like going to achieve.mcmillanlearning.com. They like to only work in Canvas. But however, if I assign things like the general chemistry readiness or the bonus materials, but students don't like to click all the way at the end of the semester, they can go to Achieve Home by one click on the Canvas webpage. Same thing with the ebook. I find it easy to just include that link, and then the student registration, they'll have all those assignments there. And so sorry, I'm going to unclick those because, as I said, I wanted to do the learning curves. So I'm going to go to only the learning curves. And you notice how they're assigned is they're assigned by due date. So I have 14, 16. And you could choose your modules this way. As I said, I just found it to be when you choose multiple modules. So this is on your home page. So again, how do I assess or how do I do my semesters? I do them by chapter. So I'm going to choose multiple modules and I'm going to put this to the chapter 12, 13, so on and so forth. So one thing I did not show you on my setting up Canvas, as I said, I imported a previous class. My recommendation, if you are linking Achieve or Sapling or anything to Canvas, get your modules ready ahead of time on Canvas, just so you could do this step much easier versus you taking, like having multiple clicks on the next one. Sorry, I lost track as I was talking of which one I was doing. So 15. And we're going to deploy the selected content. So it's going to deploy, and I'll show you on the home page what it looks like to the students in each module, and then I'll also show you how it looks to us as professors on the assignments page. So going back to our course, if I go to my home page for that particular course, and I scroll down to chapter 12, we see that we have now added the learning curve from Macmillan Achieve right here. And I could publish it right here, or you could publish it from the assignments page. It's up to you. So I like to do it, but notice again, pre-lecture, they're all in the right thing. So I just go right down the line. I find this quicker than going to each module. So it's just a personal preference. If you like to do it by modules, that's fine too. Now I'm done with the pre-lecture. I'm going to swap this out and put homework in front. Go back to Macmillan Learning, go back to select content, and I'm going to go find those other activities. So now I'm in homework, and notice that the ones that I've already added are in bold, so I don't have to do this, so I'm just doing homework. And again, this is just personal preference. I like having it organized for me. If you want to have all your homeworks, all your assignments added in one bulk move, go ahead. I have just found over 4 years of using Canvas, I hate dragging these assignments into individual modules or assignment piles. So I like Macmillan to do it for me. And choose a module. I'm going to choose my multiple modules and do the same thing I did before. So some of these are just tips I picked up over the year to save myself time, especially if you have multiple classes to make or you have multiple preps to do. So it helps kind of keep things easier and straight in your mind. If you ever find that you miss one, just kind of do the steps again, where you go back to assignments and then pull the relative, the relevant assignment tab up. And then again, going back to my modules for homepage, because it'll look the same. You'll see that it's now visible right here in homework. So one thing I do, another tip for homework, or how I do this, is I do it in order of what's happening. So I will put learning curves, then I'll do my lecture, then I'll have my pre-recorded lectures, I'll do my homework, then I'll have a practice quiz so they can see what might happen on the quiz, and then you'll have quiz 1. The other thing I do, if you are using Canvas for the first time this semester, make a practice respondus quiz. I'm just going to show you guys real quick what I mean there. It is one where I give them 2 questions. What image do you see? Because if they can't see the periodic table, that means that they can't see it when I assign them a real quiz. And then here's one for how to practice doing the superscripts and things like that, so they can show me their work in an open-ended math problem. It's worth no points. It's just for practice. But if you are using Canvas quizzes for the first time, highly recommend making a practice quiz. It saves saves you from having to do tons of makeup dates for that first one, because everyone runs into computer errors the first time they use Respondus. So that's just and then you notice I have iClicker. I go back and forth depending on how technologically savvy my students are. I could tell usually by the middle of the first week, even the end of the first week. So depending on how many students have been able to register and get themselves into Achieve, I will either have the iClicker quiz through iClicker.com and Reef, or iClicker Reef, or I'll have it here on Canvas as a Canvas quiz. I personally prefer keeping it to iClicker, just so they all know all the iClicker quizzes in one place. But again, I've varied this by semester depending on my determination of how technologically savvy my students are. And so it does change course to course, section to section. So just again, be a little flexible with that. Hopefully you found this useful. And if you have any more questions, just let me know. Take care.